Hey, how's it going, guys? Hope everyone is doing well in their quarantine. So today we're going to talk about Google core site updates, essentially going into what they are, what you can do about it, what your clients can do about it, what you as an SEO need to know about it, etc. So Google actually announced that there is a new core update. This is the second one this year, and they're just going to call it the May 2020 core update. So after this update, and just like every other update, there's been so much chatter from thousands of webmasters and SEOs reporting your ranking shifts. So while there's going to be a lot of articles written about this topic, about what they're seeing, what the data is showing us, etc., etc., I think it's important to really understand what these core updates are, and then go into what you can do specifically, and to future-proof yourself and your clients' websites, so that you're not as dramatically impacted by these core updates. Now, the core updates are totally different from something like a BERT algorithm update, or a penguin, or a possum, etc. These updates are very, very specific, and there is something that Google wants you to do. They're targeting something specific. But the core updates, they speak to Google's larger goal, which, according to Google, is designed to, so these core updates are designed to ensure that overall we're delivering on our mission to present relevant and authoritative content. So there's a lot of confusion amongst brands, amongst websites, content creators, etc. But what is exactly relevant and authoritative content? So if you're, let's say, a retail website, so we'll go a lot more into this, but just to preface this, if you're like a retail website, or if you're like a brand, then a lot of brands feel as though they can just create content, or if they just create a website with products, people will come to them. Obviously, that's not 100% true, and that's why a lot of brands actually kind of use pay-per-click as their primary driver of traffic to make sales. With regards to these Google core updates, Google has told you exactly what they're looking for. If you go to their webmaster blog, and the title of the blog post is "What Webmasters Should Know About Google's Core Site Updates." And they go into detail. They have questions. They have specific sections that you should be reading. And it's basically pointing to what they're defining as authoritative and relevant content. In the beginning, Google essentially cheated. They knew what they were looking for, but they needed time for people to use their service, and for websites, for people to just use the internet so that websites can get indexed. And then they set off on this grand journey to make the internet more useful. So Google cheated in the beginning by using mostly Wikipedia articles and PubMed for medical information. They still use Wikipedia articles, but we are seeing a lot of other content being ranked on the knowledge graph, and people also ask, and featured snippets, etc. And there's a lot of other websites that have replaced PubMed, such as Healthline and a bunch of others that they're doing really well. Some of them are better than what PubMed offered. Some of them are not so good. But essentially what Google engineers have been doing is they've been layering complexity upon their algorithms. So here's a couple of areas to focus on, or you can also call them areas of concern. First of all, syndicated content. So according to Google, if you syndicate content on other sites, Google will always show the version we think is most appropriate for users in each given search. So obviously, if you're a website, a news website that syndicates their content, or gets content from other websites that is syndicated, if your content is a copy of someone, syndicated is you're basically copying content. If your content is a copy of someone else's content, do not expect good results. Don't expect it. And this also applies to retailers. So if you're, let's say, a third-party retailer, let's say you sell hats or something, or shoes, and you're selling Nike shoes on your website, and you're taking, with Nike's permission, the content from Nike.com and adding it to your website, well, Nike.com is going to get the credit for that. On the flip side, if you're Nike.com and you've allowed all these other content creators to take your content, sometimes what happens is there are instances where, let's say, someone is taking your content, but maybe they've created a really good product listing page, or they have a really nice experience page, or they're doing something unique that's giving them a lot of authority. And so for a handful of products or an entire section of the website, Google is saying, hey, look, this, even though it's a third-party retailer, it's more relevant for this topic than Nike.com. I've seen this actually happen with outdated products. So let's say a brand came out with a line of jeans or something, um, and there's people that are still searching for that, but the brand itself is not carrying that line of jeans on their websites, but there's Nordstrom.com that still have that listing up from like 2 years ago, and they're getting all that traffic. Or there's people like on Poshmark or something, or even on eBay, kind of people reselling these jeans. Maybe they're used jeans, who knows? Um, and they're getting traffic. So we do see this on both ends. Third-party retailers get affected, and brands get affected. So for the brand, because that's typically the type of clients that I deal with, what the brand should do is make sure that their content is unique and better and ever-changing compared to the third-party retailers. Even though these third-party retailers are reselling and you're getting a profit, they're still technically your competition, especially now in the internet world. Everyone is your competition. When you search for your product, if you're a brand and you're searching for your product, and the other 8 to 10 results on the SERPs, those are all your uh, those are all your competitors. Okay. So then we go into trust and authorship. Essentially, here you want to follow the EAT guidelines, which is a document developed by Google outlining exactly what they are looking for in terms of expertise, authority, and trust. Essentially, what you want to do, and this is what they recommend: cite your sources, provide evidence of expertise. A lot of brands will often write a blog post. Maybe this brand is like 30 years old, 40 years old. They're really good within their industry. But outside of their industry, people don't know who they are. And so they expect people to they'll just write a blog post. I had a client that wrote really, really strange articles. They had a lot of content, but there's no one seeking this content. No one's searching for this content. And the content wasn't really adding anything to the conversation. So what you want to do is you want to essentially establish yourself. And here's the thing. That brand, the type of content that was doing really good is interviews. Whenever they interviewed, let's say, a designer or someone in their niche, uh, they got a ton of traffic. They got a lot of exposure, and so they were kind of using this technique before we started consulting with them. And we told them, hey, look, you guys were doing great in these interviews. Find a way to really make yourself marketable with these interviews, monetize them, connect them back to your e-com site, and you're gonna see a lot of uh, good traffic, good revenue coming from this. So try to find a way. Another example is, let's say, a skincare brand. What they can do is bring on a dermatologist to sign off on their content. I've seen this a lot on medical sites where they'll get a doctor to basically write their name. Hey, this has been medically reviewed, and Google has schema markup that you can use to basically communicate that this content has been reviewed by a medical professional or some author or some other professional within your vertical. So now we go into fluff and regurgitated content. There's so much fluff out there. You have to you have to add something to the discussion. You have to, you don't have to be controversial. A lot of brands are afraid of being controversial. But you do have to be unique, interesting, and you have to give your readers something that they can sink their teeth into. Um, Avoid politics or religion unless you are in those verticals, and if you are in those verticals, then don't be afraid to give your opinion. And if you open the newspaper, you'll see like an editorial section, and essentially, people will write in their editorials, and then on the bottom it'll say, the newspaper will say, "Oh, we don't necessarily agree or disagree with these views or whatever." But you as a brand need to be um, someone who is establishing their opinion. In a lot of verticals, like I had a denim jeans client who was afraid of doing this, and I said to them, there was a section on their website that talked about ripped jeans. Well, they didn't talk about it. They had a page for ripped jeans and another page for distressed jeans. I said, wait. What's the difference between ripped and distressed? Like, I don't know anything about fashion. I said to them, look, there's a lot of people who are still confused about this, so why don't you write a blog post telling the difference? And then I showed them, like, people are actually asking this question on People Also Ask, on Quora.com, on Reddit. This is content that people actually want. So go to Quora, go to use People Also Ask to kind of see what people are asking. And from there you can really help build out that unique content. This also ties into the next one, which is lack of depth. So this is what Google writes on that webmaster blog post. Does your content provide a substantial, complete, or comprehensive description of the topic? I want you guys to think evergreen content. I don't like this word, but it makes sense. Like content that's gonna really, it's not gonna be like a TMZ type of post, but more of like something that will get you links and will get you traffic for years. So one idea is like if you're an education site, you can talk about why are any universities so expensive. Um, if you're a retail website, you can go into like product details. Um, you know, some some sites are talking about like sustainability, how their brand is helping the community, things like that. Things that people actually care about, they want to read, they want to learn about you, etc. So don't be just another brand, another website that's slapping products on the internet and hoping for the best. Really dig deep into who you are and how you can add to the discussion. It's kind of repetitive, but it's really important. So finally, we hear a lot about your money or your life. Super important. This is like if you are within this niche of of industries, then you need to pay attention to uh, your reputation and your level of trust. Um, so pay attention if you're in the fitness, health, medical, finance, or banking industry. Pay close attention to these. A couple of examples. So beyond just fitness and health, obviously you're gonna have an impact on someone's current or future well-being, as Google says. But also think about other types of websites. So if you're talking about DIY solutions, like there's a lot of websites out there that keep talking about apple cider vinegar and this and that. That's still something that you're putting into your body, and you need to make sure that you also talk about the side effects of drinking too much apple cider vinegar, etc. Um, and you need to make sure that you're not, just creating content just because it's a trending topic, just because you're trying to get, that clickbait content. We don't want that. Don't get into clickbait content, but make sure that your content is is at the highest level of expertise possible. All right, so that was the 5 things that we all need to focus on, whether it be our websites or our clients' websites or whatever. But definitely go back to the Google article that breaks down all the stuff, the blog post. I'll link that blog post along with a couple of other resources within the description section. So thank you, everyone. Please put your questions in the comment section. Subscribe, share, and definitely hit the bell button. Thanks.